Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to do a video that I have not done in quite a while, and I know you guys are missing it. I'm missing them too. I'm doing a full face trying new makeup. I know you guys love these videos, and I haven't done them in probably a couple months now, so I have a bunch of products to try out. So if you're excited about another trying new makeup video, give this video a thumbs up. Of course, I will link everything that I use today down below in my description box. If you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get into a full face of trying new makeup. So I want to go ahead and try on this new shade of the Too Faced Hangover Pillow Balm that I picked up. This is in Cranberry Crush. I'm not sure if this is new or I just totally missed the memo on this, but this is such a beautiful color. I have talked about these lip balms for years. I love the watermelon. I've used these through and through. This is such a good treatment. If you have really dry lips, it really coats your lips, and it's more of a balm, as you can see. They are mostly pretty sheer, so this one seems a little bit different. The fact that this has like such a nice pigment, this would actually be great for during the day if you want an actual tint. This does smell like cranberry juicy. So you can see when I apply it, it doesn't have a shine like a lip balm gloss or an oil, but it has this really like thick texture that's not sticky, and it just coats your lips. And I find this to be extremely hydrating. So with a shade this pigmented, I'm just gonna take my finger, kind of blend into the lips. I feel like this is definitely, you know, bringing out my rosacea. So this would be a shade that I would wear with lip liner and like actual makeup. I think it's gonna be really beautiful, like your lips, but better, especially when you have other makeup on. Okay, so next I want to start on an eye look, and I am going to be using some products from FLORASIS in today's video. So thank you to FLORASIS for sponsoring this portion of today's video. I have seen this brand all over. Beautiful, beautiful embossing in their products. And I've actually mentioned a few products from FLORASIS in past favorites, like a powder and a blush. I also really, really love their cleansing oil if you want something that's like light to take your makeup off. FLORASIS also just launched their brand new Ode to Embroidery limited collection. This has an array of products from blushes to cushion foundations, powders, and cheek palettes, which I will be demoing later. And this packaging is absolutely stunning. It has this beautiful orchid embroidery on it that represents the spirit of independent women and self-empowerment. But I haven't tried their eyeshadows, and I have some blushes as well that I want to test out. So look how gorgeous this is. Like the actual embossing is insane. So I turned my lights down so you can really see how gorgeous this is. So I went ahead and swatched the palette, and it's really, really stunning and creamy. Their formula is a hydrating formula, really great for mature eyelids. So I'm gonna go ahead and start out with the lightest shade in the palette. Let me go ahead and zoom you in even more, and I'm going to use this in the crease as my transition. So I'm going to start just lightly dusting this in my crease, and I'm using a BabsBeauty 201. I do have a 30% off discount with BabsBeauty. It is site-wide, everything's included, including the Nikki LaRose sets. Definitely recommend taking advantage of it because I know that their brushes are expensive, but they are really, really nice. So this is blending beautifully. I'm just using this kind of as a base, and then I want to go in and kind of flick it out a little bit on the outer corner. This formula does feel very creamy, like there's very little kick up in the pan, but really nice pigmentation. And then once I get the majority of the pigment down, I'm just kind of blending upwards just to soften. Okay, next I'm gonna jump into this shade, which is quite a bit deeper, and I want to just reinforce that warmth and depth. And this one's pretty because it has that like satin finish, but it's very, very subtle. Next, I'm gonna grab the deepest shade in the palette, and I'm gonna use an angled brush. This is a BabsBeauty Nikki LaRose N11, and I'm just going to create a wing by kind of stamping and then flicking outward. so that I have a little bit of that like smoky effect. And this is why I do my eyes first, because if I need to clean it up, I can do so. So I'm not really worried about it being a perfect shape. I'm gonna take a Q-tip with my micellar water and start kind of cleaning up to get the shape that I want. And I am gonna grab a little bit of this top shade with a Rephr 03. So I wanna use this just to smoke above the wing, just slightly. For the lid, I do want to try out this really beautiful kind of like copper shade. It is so soft and shiny. So I'm just going to pat this with my finger on my lid. It's like super soft, but it has that really pretty metallic. I would guess if you wet it, it would be even more intense. And then I want to go back in with that first brush and soften around the edges. I also want to jump into this shade and use this to add a little bit of depth on this outer edge here, just slightly blending it outward. And then I can't help myself, I have to go into that really beautiful, shiny, highlighty shade. Oh yeah. And I'm just gonna use this on top. That is really pretty. It's really soft, but it almost has like that reflex sort of sparkle. It's like a metallic, but it has that glittery effect. And then I am gonna go over the dark shadow just to reinforce my wings here. I did go ahead and clean up under my eyes a little bit, but I do want to get back into that deep shade. I just feel like I need some more depth on this outer corner here. Okay, so I went ahead and did my mascara and lashes. I used these from Amazon. These are pre-adhesive. They're just so easy to use, so I will link those down below. But I want to get into complexion. I'm going to be using another palette from FLORASIS when I get my base done. But let's go ahead and put on some moisturizer. I'm going to be using the Kiehl's moisturizer. I recommended this in my Sephora sale video, and this is just such a nice lightweight moisturizer. It doesn't have a scent to it. It's just super gentle. So it does really, really layer nicely under makeup. For primer, I actually have two that I want to try out. So I have the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip and Glow base. I've used this before, but not on camera. This is an interesting one because it does have this like really intense gold illumination to it, which I don't know if I love, but I'm gonna use this all over the skin just to demo it. I wish it had a little bit more of a subtle glow because you can see like in the pore area, it's definitely highlighting. I mean, you can see like the gold glow, but this is what it looks like on the skin. I would say that I don't find it to be as grippy, maybe, as the original. So I'm kind of still just uneasy about how I feel, or undecided about how I feel about this. But I haven't tried this yet, and this is the Milani Conceal and Perfect Blur Out Smoothing Primer. When you swatch it, it feels pretty similarly to the Blur Jam that I love from Huda Beauty. And I can see it definitely blurred my hand. It has that like cooling effect. It feels a little bit, I guess, softer, but I want to go ahead and apply this to my pore areas. And I want to see if it does hold up to the Blur Jam. It might be a more affordable, drugstore friendly option. It feels a little bit more lightweight, which could be a good or bad thing, but I don't know in terms of like longevity or oil control, because the Blur Jam, which is now repackaged or remade, the Blur Primer is really good at controlling your oils. And that's one thing that I really like about it, being combo oily skin. So we'll have to see how this works with the foundation that I apply, but I want to go in with that foundation. And I know I'm late to the game on a lot of these products, but I did want to demo the One Size Turn Up the Base Full Beat Liquid Foundation for you guys. So I've used this off camera and I almost wanted to recommend it in the Sephora sale, but I feel like this is a really polarizing product. People either love it or they hate it. And it's kind of interesting because I actually had a good experience with it. I've mixed it with a bunch of different foundations and it worked really well for me. I didn't think that it was as long lasting as some of my favorites, let's say the L'Oreal Infallible or the Double Wear, but I did find it comparable to maybe like the Huda Beauty Easy Blur, except for this definitely leans more matte and I would say it has more coverage. So I have the shade here Medium 10N, which is a little bit deep for me. I also have the shade Light 20G, which looks really, really light. So I think I'm just gonna mix both of them. My self tan is faded, but we're just going to make myself tanner than I really am. And I am going to be using these BK Beauty Signature Holy Grail Trio brushes. This is a trio of 3 of their best-selling complexion brushes, and they have it in this special packaging, and also you can see that the actual brush handles have this really pretty like Christmas vibe. So you can get 30% off of this with my code, but the 109 is literally Holy Grail status. This is like the perfect brush for foundation, cream contour, cream blush, like it is my go-to. And then if you want the bigger version, this is the 101, which is the original like OG favorite. It's basically just the bigger version for foundation. And then we have the concealer brush, which is the A506. And I believe that was originally a collaboration with Angie from Hot and Flashy. I think this is such a cute little set. So I'm gonna go in with the 101 and I'm going to grab some product and start applying. I may pump in a little bit more of that light shade just because I feel like this is quite deep. So I'm sure you can see off the bat the coverage that this One Size gives you. It has a really nice coverage. Before I lose my mind, I am gonna go down my neck. I'm actually gonna grab the BK Beauty 109. I like to use a smaller brush for the perimeters of my face just because I do my brows first. So I like to have a smaller brush that can go around my brows. It's just a little bit easier and also easier to control around my hairline. So this is what the One Size foundation looks like freshly applied. I do think that the shade is definitely too dark. They actually sent me the medium and then I picked up that light shade to mix. Probably could have mixed in more of the light, but this is a try new makeup, so this is how these videos go. It has a really good coverage. I would say like a high medium coverage. I find it to be on the thinner side, and I didn't have any streaking or anything, but when I was reading the reviews on this, people were saying they had a lot of patchiness. So I haven't experienced that, but I feel like, again, maybe if you have like dry skin, this would not be for you. Overall, everything looks pretty good. I don't feel like my pores look enhanced, but I don't think that they look perfectly smooth. We're not going to be able to see that kind of smoothing effect until we get into the powder. But I wanted to try out some of this corrector. This is from Cali Ray, and this is the Hideaway Corrector Brightening and Hydrating Under Eye Serum Concealer. So they say it's concealer, but the shade I got, Dawn, is truly like a correcting shade. It's a very light baby pink. Now, typically I would kind of swipe this on my under eye and blend out, but I think because this is so watery and thin and it's so pink, that's not gonna work. So I'm gonna try to use the Rougher 13, and I wanna just get this on my brush, start to lightly go in those areas that I have that darkness, which for me is like right in here. My only issue or worry with this is the fact that it feels quite dry, whereas the Becca Under Eye Corrector is very, very emollient, almost leaning like sticky hydrating. And then you have kind of middle of the road, which would be like the Bobbi Brown Corrector, which is like Holy Grail. Do you see how it's sort of like lifting and grabbing in certain areas? And I do have dry under eyes to begin with. So it definitely does brighten, but is it gonna cling? That's kind of my fear if you have like a drier under eye, because I don't have this issue with my other correctors. But I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. And maybe I used too much even then. I think that's kind of the tricky thing with these. You wanna use like as little as possible, but if you can see on my hand, it almost does set down. I kind of like more of like a creamy formula on the under eyes. Okay, I have to zoom you in for this. This does not look great. It is like really grabbing and clinging. It's not doing as bad on this side, so I'm wondering if like less is more. Yeah, that's not looking great. We'll see how this layers. I want to go in next with the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Lift and Flex Concealer. I don't know how I feel about this either. I feel like there's a lot of products that are just kind of so-so for me lately. So this is in the shade 9. It's very thin, but I just don't know if it's the most flattering if you have, again, under eye dryness. So why don't we just try it out? Why do I torture myself? The doe foot doesn't really pick up a ton of product, but it's kind of nice if you're someone that like overdoes it. And to blend this out, I am gonna use the A506, and I wanna see how this brightens and covers. It's not that I disliked this completely. I just feel like I prefer a more hydrating formula just for my concealer. Looking at it right now, I feel like it looks pretty good. And I am wondering how much of that darkness was calmed down by the Cali Ray. So this is what the under eyes are looking like with the Danessa Myricks on top of that Cali Ray. I feel like they look pretty good, nice and bright, especially like in this inner portion of the eye. So I want to see how this plays with powder, and I do really like this powder from Makeup by Mario. I actually did mention this in my recommendations video. This is a really interesting powder because it's very smoothing, but it's very creamy. It has this like creamy touch to it while also being very lightweight. It just has this like really creamy feel to it, and I don't know how to describe it, but it also really blurs the skin. So I have the shade here 2 Neutral Light, and that's what I'm going to be using today. I also have the lightest one, which is more pinky, but I want to stick with something that's going to kind of match the tones that we have going on. So I'm quickly going to get all of the creasing out, kind of tap some off on my hand, and just pull down the T-zone and also the T-zone here. So you can definitely see the difference. This is the side set with the Mario powder. I just did my T-zone because I'm going to use another powder for the rest of my face. And then this is the side unset. It really is a beautiful formula because it just has this hydration that a lot of smoothing powders don't. So if you have oily skin, I would say that you may want to go for something like the Lunar Beauty, something that really kind of helps with the oil control. But if you have dry skin, or you just prefer the feel of a creamy powder, you don't like how matte powders get on you and how they kind of feel tight, then I think you would like this. So I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. So this is what both sides of the face look like set with the Mario powder. One thing I am noticing, and I don't know if I'm being really nitpicky, is I almost feel like I lost a little bit of coverage right in here, almost as if when I set, it kind of removed a little bit of my foundation or my base. So I'm not sure if that's like the patching people are talking about with the one size, but just something to note, nothing like crazy that I feel like we have to start over or anything like that. So I want to go in next with a powder from FLORASIS to set the perimeter of my face. So I'm going to be using this new Yurong Airbrush Tinted Pressed Powder in Z20. Now I love the FLORASIS powders. I've had really good luck with them, but they have such beautiful powders in all different formulas. So if you want something that has a little bit of coverage, or if you want something that's really mattifying and more sheer. So I'm going to use this with a flat top brush and stipple onto the rest of the skin. just to hopefully lighten things up. This is also like a really nice touch-up powder. And this powder is part of the new FLORASIS Ode to Embroidery collection. So there's a bunch of products in this collection. I'm gonna show some of them to you when we get to the cheeks. They get a 10 out of 10 for a presentation, but their powders are just really nice, really smoothing too, which is something that I obviously look for. So I feel like now we have a really nice even base, and I want to go in to the cheek palette from this new collection. It is stunning, and they have 2 different colorways. So this is called the Eastern Beast Sculpting Makeup Palette. I have it in the color 01, but they do have another one that is so beautiful. Like the highlighter and blush look incredible. Look how gorgeous this packaging is, and then the palette inside is so beautiful. But this one has a really nice kind of cool bronzing sculpting contour powder. Then you have a really pretty mid-tone blush, a brightening powder, and then a highlight, which is so pretty. So I went ahead and swatched all of the shades, and they're just so beautiful, very neutral, but everyday appropriate. So I'm gonna start off with the contour shade, and I'm gonna be using a BabsBeauty 112, and I wanna use this just to sculpt the face. Because this is a really cool shade, I'm gonna keep this far back and then sort of just like kind of fluff upwards so that it doesn't look like a harsh line, but more of a shadow. I'm also going to go just under my jawline here. Before we go in with the blush and highlighter, I am gonna take a little bit of this Physicians Formula Matte Sun-Kissed Bronzer, and I'm just gonna use a BK 103. I wanna add a little bit of warmth back to the skin. Next, I'm gonna dip into this blush in the palette, and I'm gonna use a 111 from BabsBeauty and start stippling. This is a really pretty neutral shade. It has this like nice glow to it that's not glitter or overwhelming. It just gives you a little bit of that like healthy glow without enhancing your texture. So I'm going to apply on the other side. Yeah, it has this really pretty kind of like lifting sort of look, like you've been out in the sun. Also going to just take that all over. And then to highlight, I do want to go in with this really beautiful highlighter. I'm going to be using a N14. If you wet your brush, it would be even more blinding, but I kind of really like the more natural looks as of recently. Yeah, that's really pretty. I've just been not as into like heavy highlights, and this one's really lightweight. So when you turn your face, it catches the light, but it's not like a stripe on your skin. So that's really, really beautiful too. I went ahead and finished my brows and did my nose, and I wet my brush because I do want to just intensify this highlight even more. It's so pretty. I just love how it like doesn't look heavy or powdery. I think I also want to use this on the inner corner of my eyes. Oh yeah. You also do have this brightening powder, which I guess we could try. I'm just gonna go in with my flat brush. Oh yeah. And just sort of clean up if I kind of blended too low with my contour or my blush. Yeah, that's really nice. I could have used that to kind of pinch in my nose, but I think this is stunning, like stunning. Now also in the Ode to Embroidery collection, they did release like a cushion foundation, another powder for touch-ups, and these little blushes. These are the Ethereal Flush Smooth Powder Blushes. These are very, very light. So I almost wonder if these would be pretty as like under eye setting powders or brightening powders that would kind of tie into like that pink baby doll sort of blush look. I thought this one in particular particular, which is Candy Clouds, would be pretty for like a brightening powder that kind of melts into a baby pink blush. So I am interested to try that, but today I have more of like the peachy tones on. So I will link this down below, as well as all of the other FLORASIS products I used and I recommend. I do also have a code for you guys, so I will put that on the screen. It's $10 off every $100 you spend. So all that will be down below in the description, but really loving how these products performed. But thank you to FLORASIS for sponsoring this portion of today's video. I really love how my makeup is turning out. So to finish off this look, I want to go in with this lip liner from Saie. So this is the Lip Crayon 101 in the color Flirt. Now I don't know how to feel about this because it is a standard pencil lip liner and it is nice and creamy without slipping all over, but I don't find that this wears super long. So this would be something that I would wear maybe on days when I'm just like around the house or doing errands and I don't need that like longevity, because I just don't feel like the staying power is there. I mean, you can see how that is smudging, but I want to go ahead and line my lips and I'll show you what this color looks like. So this is what the Saie lip liner in Flirt looks like. I do feel like this is a really nice color. It's not too dark. A lot of times I feel like I can't find a shade that is dark enough to give me dimension, but not too dark. So I actually like this color. I just don't think it's gonna be super long wearing. So I wanna go in and try this lipstick next from Valentino. They sent me some shades over, but this is a neutral shade from the bunch. And I thought that it might go well with what we're wearing. So this is the Valentino lipstick in 123R. And I believe these are supposed to be like long wearing, sort of like powdery matte in texture and formula. They do have the Valentino like scent, which is, you know, that luxury floral scent, but it's very mild. I didn't notice it until I actually went to, you know, smell the lipstick. On the lips, I do smell it a little bit, but I don't taste it yet, so that's good. Feels very lightweight. It's creamy, it doesn't feel drying, but I do feel like it would smear if you did touch your lips, so just keep that in mind. I did also want to try to apply a new Patrick Ta gloss on top because he did come out with 2 new holiday kits that I picked up both of them. So the first set has this lilac shade and then also this like deep berry shade. And then the second set has like 2 pinky red berries. I prefer this set because they do have more pigment and punch overall, even though the color on this lilac really sucked me in. Now the Patrick Ta glosses have a kind of like cinnamon minty scent to them, and they do give you a slight plumping effect. I would say this is a thicker, stickier gloss, but you can see just how sheer that is, which I'm a little disappointed. This is the headliner shade, and then you do get the berry shade in this set as well. Now this one shows up a little bit more. You can actually see some pigment, and this one is called Main Stage. Now in this next set you get For the Girls, and then you also get Unavailable, and these swatched more intensely. So you have For the Girls here, which you can see definitely has like that pink tone. I mean, these are sheer overall, but if you're gonna buy, you know, different colors, then they should actually change the look on your lips. And then this one is probably the most pigmented of all. And this one is called Unavailable. Was that what it was called? Yes. So for me personally, I like the colors of the first one, but I feel like you get more bang for your buck with these two. So I think I might go in with this one, which is Unavailable. I almost forgot again. Just gives me like a shine on top of the lipstick that we applied. Again, these do have a slight tingly feel. I would compare them to maybe like Buxom, so nothing too crazy, but if you don't like any tingling, these may not be for you. But I do think they're really pretty. I really like the formula. It's very shiny and juicy, and I like the scent on it because it makes me feel like, I don't know, I just popped a mint in or something like that, which I personally like. I have one more product that I want to test out today, and that is the Freck Face Hack Setting Spray. So this is supposed to blur and keep your makeup on. It says mist all over before, during, and after makeup for a flawless blended finish. I have heard a lot of good things about this. A lot of you guys were in my comments section saying that you really love this. I've used it a few times and I just can't tell if I notice a difference, but I thought we would do it on camera so I can really see. So this is the complexion before. I'm gonna shake it up. You can hear like the little bead in there. The mister on this is a nice even mist. It's not something that's super light, but it's also not like in your face. So I'm gonna go ahead and douse my face in this. I don't really notice a scent either, like no scent at all that I can detect, which is good if you're someone that is sensitive. My hair always wants to like go crazy when it gets wet with setting spray, which is why I pinned back my bangs. It definitely gave me some hydration. I see like little baby droplets, but I don't think that those will disrupt my makeup. I just have to let it dry down. And then once it has settled a little bit, I just go in with my powder brush. I mean, it definitely did add hydration and sort of like melt everything into the skin. I don't know about blurring. You guys will have to let me know down below. I do feel like my skin looked pretty nice before. Interested to see how my makeup wears throughout the rest of the day and see if I feel like this really keeps your makeup on along with giving you that hydration. All right, guys, so here is my finished makeup look using a bunch of new products, and I wanna go over my thoughts. So let's start off with the Too Faced Hangover Pillow Balm. I think this is a really pretty shade. This is one that I would pick up if you already love the formula or you're looking for something that's gonna give you some really nice hydration through the winter, but you want something with some pigment. It smells incredible too. So this is one that I wouldn't use before bed just because I don't want it to get on my pillow or my pillowcase. I would reach for this when I'm out and about. So probably put this in my car or my purse. So I think this is a really beautiful shade, and I would actually like to see more shades from the Pillow Balm because I love the formula. Now I absolutely love this FLORASIS palette. I think this is so beautiful. It has this like gorgeous, just like rich tones to it. I think that the shimmers in here are very, very creamy and they have that metallic finish, but they also give you almost like that scattered look as well. But I really like the mattes in here the most. I just found that they blended beautifully. They're very creamy, a very unique sort of formula, but blended effortlessly. And I feel like if you're a neutral person, you will love this. Also have to talk about the primers. So the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Glow. I don't know how I feel about this. I cannot decide. It's something with the texture and how, I guess, like glowy and illuminating it is. It just feels wrong. It feels wrong. I do have to say that my complexion looks nice, and I haven't had any issues with this making my foundation patchy or lifting. So I don't know if I can say that I don't like this, but I just feel like it feels just weird to me, the sensation, and I don't find it to be as gripping as the original. Let me know your thoughts down below. I feel like this is a good product, but I don't know if it's something that I absolutely need in my collection. Now, in terms of my thoughts on the Milani Blur Primer, I feel like this did a good job. I do feel like my pores look nice and smooth. Again, I was trying, a new foundation, new powders, lots of things happening here, but this does remind me of the Blur Jam in just the feel of it. It has that cool feel, and it's one of those that really kind of glides over the skin. So I am intrigued to keep trying this. I do feel like it could be a similar option if you want to save some money. And I also really do like the One Size foundation. I feel like my skin looks really nice. I don't feel like I look, flat, matte, or dry. And I haven't had really any of that patching that people were talking about. I do think that this does lean more full coverage. It doesn't look natural per se. And if you have dry skin, I don't know how it would work for you, but I actually do like this formula. I mean, I feel like it was pretty easy to work with. It's not even one that smears back and forth. So I've been quite happy with this, but I do realize that not everybody has had that experience. Definitely feeling unsure about my thoughts on the Cali Ray Hideaway Concealer or Color Corrector. I do feel like my eyes look nice and bright. I think it's one of those that less is more, and if you have like dryness or just crepiness on your under eye, I don't think this would be the best option for you. I do think that it did a good job at canceling out my darkness, but it did look pretty rough before I put concealer on top. So I don't know if this is gonna become a favorite for me, but I have to say that my under eyes look better than anticipated. But I do think if you have dry under eyes and you struggle with that, I'm not sure if this would be the best bet. I also feel like the Yummy Skin concealer looks really nice, especially paired with that Cali Ray. I don't know if it's my favorite concealer ever because I just feel like, again, it can get a little bit dry, and I'm not sure if both of these worked better because I use the Mario powder, because I typically use a more mattifying loose powder. So maybe that is what is gelling with these, just not so, I guess, mattifying or dry sort of under eye powder. I'm not sure, but I'll have to keep testing this out. I do feel like the coverage is a nice medium. I don't find this to be overly matte or overly dewy. I just think that it can cling a little bit to the dryness on my under eyes. So both of those products I'm not sure about, but I do really love the Makeup by Mario powder. As I said before, this is super smoothing, but it has this creaminess to it. So it's very thin and lightweight, but it has this like creamy feel. When you rub it together, you can feel like this emolliency. So I think it's a great option if you want a really smoothing powder, but you have like a dry skin type, or you really just don't like the feel of powder. I think this would be a great one to check out because it really does smooth and blur, but it doesn't feel tight or dry at all. As I said before, I love the powders from FLORASIS, and this one is no exception. I just find that they do powder beautifully. Depending on your skin type, they have all different kinds. So I highly recommend checking out their website. This is a great touch-up powder, finishing powder, and setting powder because it's not too heavy, but it does just really blur the skin out. So I really, really love this. And the star of the show for me has to be this sculpting makeup palette for cheeks. I just think that every powder in here is stunning. I feel like this contour kind of bronzy shade is cool enough to give you that like sculpted look. The highlighter is that lit from within. It's not powdery, doesn't sit on top of the skin and give you that kind of stripe that we all hate. The blush has this really beautiful warmth to it. Like when you put it on the cheeks, it just almost pulls more peachy than it looks in the pan. And then this highlight powder or brightening powder that's matte is super pigmented, very, very, very pigmented and brightening for your under eye or under your contour, or if you want to use this on your lids for like a brightening base. So I think this palette, the packaging is gorgeous, but all 4 shades are something that I would reach for. I think this is beautiful, definitely a standout product for me today. Moving on to the lip products. As I said before, I like the color, I like the formula. I really like everything about this Say lip liner, other than the fact that I just don't feel like it has longevity. So it is one of those that you're gonna have to reapply, and if you're okay with that, then I think you would like this. It's kind of a no fuss because sometimes the formulas that really hang on can be a little bit more tricky to blend out because once they set down, they sort of like lock in and you can't budge them. This is just creamy and kind of like a blotted, smudgy sort of formula. It would be great to just smudge out and have that like soft lip line if that's something that you enjoy. So I would reach for this more every day than for like full glam. And the Valentino, I just don't really love this color on me. I find that it pulls very, very, very purple on me, at least from what I'm seeing. It's like a mauve purple, which is really not a color that I wear like ever. But I do think the formula feels nice. I feel like we're in this market where there are so many beautiful lipstick formulas. Packaging is stunning. It feels heavy, but is it really wowing me? Not really. I think the formula feels nice, but again, if I can't find a color that I love, it's just not gonna become a favorite. So I'll keep testing it out, but I think it's just a solid formula so far. And then as I said before, in the Patrick Ta duos, I would definitely pick up this duo just because you get more bang for your buck in terms of pigment. But I love this formula. I just want more pigment. I really think this was a missed opportunity having this be literally sheer, because it really is such a beautiful shade, and I've been loving lilac lip glosses and tones lately, and I think this was a missed opportunity having it be literally almost clear. But I do think this one is really, really beautiful, and you kind of get two different looks that will be beautiful for holiday. And finally, the Freck Face Hack Setting Spray. I'm gonna have to keep trying it out. I still feel like my Cali Ray holds my makeup better than any other setting spray, and I just haven't been able to really see a difference with this in longevity. I do feel like my skin looks nice, but I don't think that this was the reason that my skin was blurred. But a lot of you guys have been really loving this and telling me it's great. So if you love this and you tried this, can you leave a comment down below and tell me how you use this, if you used it before, during, and after your makeup? I need to figure out how to use this or what I'm doing wrong so I can, you know, get the full potential out of it. All right, guys, so I think that is everything for this trying new makeup video. It feels good to just get back to doing this because I really do love filming these. Of course, I will link everything that I shared today down below in my description box. I will also put the code for FLORASIS so you can get $10 off every $100 you spend. So that will be down below as well. But let me know if you've tried any of these products, what you think about them. I always love to hear your experience. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe. As always, thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.